the seminar's set up this way because it runs like a clock. Several of you said, can I have 2 more minutes of you? No. You can't see me anymore. You can't talk to me. I want all questions to be in here because it's a learning experience for the other meatheads. If it's so embarrassing you can't talk about it, well, that's tough shit. Fuck you. It's that simple. This system works beyond a shadow of a motherfucking doubt. It may not work for you because you didn't work the system, but it works. And after 26 and a half years, we continue to update the system because what you're learning this week is even different than September seminar. Because these aren't best practices, these are best of best of best. If something works that the September guys did, and one thing did work, then it's added. So when people that even came to the seminar in January, especially if they came to the seminar in 2014, 15, 17, it's not the same. Well, the 7 steps are the same, but we cover the 7 steps differently. And now it's become, not intuitively obvious to me, but I mean it's based on the results, because we change something and then we look for the results. But this isn't a scientific study. We wait 3 years and we do spreadsheets. I go, that works. We change it. Even if one person makes it work. And if he's a little like a monkey, like most of you are, little chimpanzees, then you can make it work. Then fucking anybody can make it work. So we continue to update and upgrade the system. We change templates. And remember again, don't overlook when you tell, and please don't insult Kim, Winnica, or Thelma and write, I've gone through all the gigs and this isn't here. Because it's not, it is here. I'll throw you out of the program if you do that, because I know you haven't been through all the gigs. And then when I tell you it's slide 1151, you fucking vagina, because I know what slide number it is. And you tell Winnica, Thelma, and Kim, you couldn't find it. That's the story of your fucking life. That's the story of your fucking life. So don't write any fucking emails to my staff that you can't find the fucking shit, because it's there. 4 or 5 months ago, I said, I'll bet you $1 million to $100,000 because he had some money. He started to say yes, and then he said no. And I said, slide 1151. But that's the story of your life. You have a system that works beyond a shadow of a doubt, but you're still not convinced that it's going to work for you. I've asked, which one of the kids on the webinars do you resonate the most with? We're not going to answer that right now. Last night you saw somebody who is an alpha dog. No question. Okay, what were the takeaways of Steve? Yes, sir.
He's very enthusiastic.
That's an understatement. He's more enthusiastic than anybody in this room by a factor of 10. And he doesn't know it? Well, I'll let you. I'm not going to steal the thunder. What else about Steve?
He's loud. He's very loud.
Yep.
He expresses himself like very emotional.
Correct.
A lot of emotion.
Correct.
It's clear, yeah.
We're talking about Steve Ballmer, meatheads, and YouTube. Okay. What else? Yes, sir, again.
He said he didn't know anything about coding.
Hey, stop! Say that real slow again. He didn't know
anything about coding.
Anything. And you're still going to go back and do research. And I can pick which one of them are going to do the research. I already know. You've been here long enough. I know who's the sickest, who's the less sick, who's the most sick. I'm not talking about physically. Well, some of you are physically ill, but I mean mentally ill. He didn't know a goddamn thing. But you got to know the reason, don't you? You need to know. Because he's got balls bigger than my head. He's got self-esteem. He's got self-confidence. He'll make the fucking thing work. And you're still going to go back and research. Because you can't help it because your parents were worthless and they should have never been born. What else about Steve? Yes, sir.
Apparently, he was good in sales and recruiting people. That was
Apparently?
his
That's a fucking understatement, okay?
So, the bottom line is that that was the lifeline of the company, and he was
Correct.
good at that. So he focused.
No, he was extraordinary at that. Not that he was just good at it. Yes, you're correct. You're correct. I mean, guys that can drive top line are precious. You can find a bean counter any place. You can find a fucking CEO any place. But I mean, and I am that kind of guy. In the 90s, people would come, when they were just getting on the internet marketing and the fucking affiliate programs, that kind of shit. Guy come in here, he's doing 50 grand a month. The second month after he's here, he's doing $1 million a month. Because I know how to drive traffic. In those days, you used to be able to make, Sally and I were making 100 grand a day on AdSense. Now they changed the algorithm. We used to be one of the biggest advertisers on Google, 100 million a year. But now, in those days, there were 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 of us. But now they want $101 million a year advertisers on Google, not $100 million a year guys on Google. Because their algorithms are for them to make money, not for you to make money. Okay, what else about Steve? Yes, sir.
It starts with the vision, always the vision. The most important component, get it right, and then follow it completely, wholly.
He didn't say fuck one time there at Oxford because he knew it was going to be forever. He also knew when he was and he had, I believe he had just left being CEO of Microsoft when he did that. And he's been very quiet, for those of you that keep track of stuff like that, he's been very quiet since he bought the Clippers.
Is loud on the sideline.
What?
Is loud on the sideline. At the basketball games.
So that is, and there's only a few CEOs or founders or whatever that are like Ballmer. Because I told you, there are not that many alpha males out there. And, but he's an extraordinary salesman. And I don't need him to tell me but I need him to relate to you that you don't have to know anything. I can look, I wish that you could see you through my eyes. You still don't believe it. You still don't believe it. 99% of you in this room already know too much. You're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle. What else about Steve? Yeah.
He said, smart people love to be negative.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. It's a simple, cheap cliche that glass is actually either half full or half empty. I mean, most of the people in the world have always got a reason. Whenever and you listen after here, when you leave here, they'll say something and then say but. As soon as the word but comes in, you can forget everything they said before. And your buts. Not just because you're asses, but I mean your butts. You're not B-U-T-T's, you're butts, B-U-T. And because the reason why you put the but disclaimer is you're protecting your own little egos, your own little identities. So then you won't be 100% wrong. Maybe you'll only be 40% wrong because you said but. But the people like me, I mean, I not only forget what you said before but, I don't listen to what you said after but. I'm not interested. If you can't say how you feel or what the situation dictates or what is required or necessary, And remember, you're going to be the head of the leadership. Now, this isn't a fair comparison, but I'm going to make it because don't confuse me with the facts. Ballmer versus you. If Ballmer's a 10, Now, some people say, well, he's a 15 on a scale of 1 to 10. But nah, if he's a 10, don't tell me. Just think in your own little pea brains, where the fuck are you? And if you have to be a 10 like him to create billions, that's why you got $85 in your checking account. And I realize some of you have a few $1 million, but to me, that's still $85 in my checking account. It's no real money. And the fact that you think, now some of you know it's no real money, but the fact that you've been led to believe that it is money is because you had low standards, your parents had low standards. I mean, to be a millionaire today is a joke. I mean, it's a joke. Now, when my dad, back when I was younger, a lot younger, I mean, it wasn't a joke, but it's a joke. Now, I mean, in Southern California, a guy living in a shack in East LA, his house was $400,000. Now, there are certain parts of the country that's not true. Kansas, Alabama, places like that, they still have houses for $150,000, $250,000. I'm told. I never saw one, but I'm told. Okay. But if you have a brownstone in New York, you're a multimillionaire by definition. A brownstone is like a condominium, a 2-3-story condominium. Okay, what else about Steve? Yes, sir.
There's something interesting to follow up on the fact when you insist that he didn't know nothing about the business or the programming. And then the next question was, how was your leadership style? Ask questions non-stop and feedback. And this is how he managed to get the right level of information to make the decision that he needed. So that was really aggressive.
Well, maybe to you. It's not aggressive to me. Asking and getting feedback, because most of the feedback you're going to get is horse shit. How is the feedback you're going to get any different than the feedback you'd get before you got here? It's going to be the same. So I would disagree with Ballmer. I'm not interested in your fucking feedback. I know what works, and everything else doesn't work. This is the only game in town that you don't need any money. Zero. And since most of the planet has zero money, I would think, that there'd be 10 million people chasing me from, city to city, but that's not the case. Because I don't sell anything, but because I tell you, most of you are going to fail. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm just telling the truth, because this is only for 0.00001% of the planet. And I have 7.5 billion people, that's about 750,000 people. Not that they can't do it intellectually, and I said this in the beginning, but emotionally. Because it's just like trying to break the circle of poverty. It's not impossible because, I did it, but I mean, in certain ethnicities, it's even worse. If you're Italian, if you're Hispanic, if you're Indian, I mean, families play a big important part of your family culture. If you're this, unfortunately, that's true. And it's tough to bust. And I'm not suggesting you don't talk to your mom for 7 years like I did. I'm not suggesting that. But I was willing to do it. There's a big difference. I'm not recommending that for anybody. But I don't know, I'm not sure anybody in this fucking room would do that. So happens I'm married to one that didn't talk to her mother for 8 years. We don't see anything strange about it. But when it ever comes up in a conversation, people look at us like we're the devil. A blonde devil with big tits, Sally, and me, a loudmouth psychopath. But they look at us like something, we just came down from fucking, Mars or something. You don't know anybody, other than a lot of people just cut themselves off from the family and never see them again. You don't know anybody that hasn't talked to their parents for 7 or 8 years, respectively. But for the most part, all the people you know are poor. It's tough to not talk to your mother when 7 families live in one house. That's a little tough, I'm not talking to you anymore, Mom. And there's 9 people in line to go to the toilet in the morning. Now, so it's a little tough. It's a little tough. What else about Steve? Yes, in the back.
You can't dislike anything as a leader. Ballmer says that if you dislike any aspect of your business, you likely won't respect your report. in that domain, and you won't also bring your A game.
Well, I understand where he's coming from, but I don't agree. But when and I'm not saying I'm a better manager than Ballmer, but I've certainly dealt with more people than he has, i.e. you guys for 26 years. But I'm a transaction junkie. I like anything that's a deal, anything that you got to chase, close, and then move on. And so, but most of the information he might be suggesting. Most of the information, i.e. feedback that you get, is horseshit. Because in the corporate world now, and I still see, and I told one of you yesterday, and I still do corporate stuff, and I still work with one of the sovereign funds. But most of the information that filters up to the people that I would talk to is all horseshit, because they're trying to protect their job. They don't want to get fired. They don't realize that you can't get fired today, But they don't want to get fired, and they don't want to piss off their boss, because their boss is going to have to do a review. So they're really saying what they think their boss wants to hear. That's what they're saying. That's what the reporting system is today. And if you're blessed and your boss happens to be a superstar on the rise, going to be the next CEO, that's super. But most of the people that you report to aren't that superstar on the rise. Anything else about Steve? Yes, in the back.
He treated Microsoft like it was a child. He said, you want to nourish it, you want to grow it so that it can go on and flourish. He didn't look at it as some entity or structure. He approached it as a child.
Well, he wasn't quite a founder, but he was close to being a founder because he was there early. But I mean, most of these guys, in the challenge, one of the challenges you're going to have is buying these little companies from these people. They treat it like their baby, whether they've been mistreated the baby or not, or whether they gave it the wrong nourishment or not. It's still their baby, and so there's an emotional tie. And you will have that same emotional tie. So that's not unusual. That's not unusual. But I mean, in the beginning, as I told you, for anybody that's ever started a business and gone from 0 to 100,000 in revenue, that's geometric growth, from scratch to 100,000. Some of you have gone from scratch to a few million in revenue. That's geometric growth. But what happens is, instead of accelerating at an accelerating rate, you start accelerating at a decelerating rate, and then pretty soon you flatten out. And if you make the grade, you're a big conglomerate like Microsoft is now. Microsoft's not much different than General Motors now. Google's not much different than General Motors now. Facebook is not much different than General Motors now. They're just this big monolithic blobs that just crank out money. What else? Yes, sir.
You say you start with one trick.
Pardon?
You say you start with one trick?
Oh, one trick, one pony trick. One fuck. Yeah. I don't care if you're just a one pony. Be a one pony. But some of you are already thinking about, what do you do in 5 or 6 years? How do you refinance? You're going to fail. You're never going to get 5 to 6 years to refinance because you're going to be out of business. Anybody thinks beyond sticking your dick in something that's warm will fail. That's it. Get your willy wet. We don't care about what if interest rates go to 35? Well, don't worry about it. What if interest rates go to 0? Don't worry about it. What if we go to war with Russia? Don't worry about it. What if we go to war with China? Don't worry about it. What if the CIA whacked a little fat North Korean? Don't worry about it. Why are you worrying about, why do you even think about this shit? Brexit is the biggest fraud in this country. An excuse not to do shit. I said it wasn't shit. I still say it is not shit. It's funny that Britain used to rule 2/3 of the planet from a little island with a thing called gunboat diplomacy. I want it, I kill you and take it. That's what QLA is. Except we're not killing anybody. It'd be a lot easier if we were killing people.
You're killing the old you.
Well, you've got to be the new you before you can metaphorically kill them, take their deal away. But the truth of the matter is, you are doing them a favor. You're doing them a favor on the board side because you're giving them a second lease on life where they can make some money and feel good about themselves. And on the seller side, you're allowing them to exit when they have no succession plan. Okay, YouTube, thank you.